Hey everybody, it's Dr. Omnibus, aka Damien Starr. Just wanted to talk to you about collected edition collecting. I'm going to start off with a little bit of history on collected editions. Back in the 90s and before, collected editions were not as big a part of the comic book community as they are today. Trade paperbacks were typically only printed for older, hard to find issues or classic story arcs. However, about 20 years ago, that changed, and they started printing them for just about every miniseries that came out, or story arc, and every 5 to 6 issues into an ongoing series. They would print a trade paperback. So it's a much bigger part of our communities now than it was back in the day. Another note on trade paperbacks in particular is value. Trade paperbacks, they aren't collectible as a investment as much as single issue comic books are. They'll never be what single issues are. I like to think that collected editions are much better for people who just like to read the stories and they have no intention of making money on comic books. In a general, trade paperback will collect 5 to 6 issues in it and will cost $15 to $25, which is generally about 20 to 40% less than the single issues that it contains would cost. That being the case, that has led to some people not buying single issues at all, and they collect just trade paperbacks. And those people are commonly referred to as trade waiters. They'll buy the trade paperback when it comes out every 6 months or so for a series. I'm one of those people. I don't buy them that on the spot, right when it comes out, but I'll wait for a good chunk of them to come out, and then I'll buy a big run of a series. Part of the reason for that is I'm a little bit of a completionist. And that's why I switched to trade paperbacks in the first place, or collected editions, I should say. I had a huge run of Uncanny X-Men, and it just wasn't big enough for me. I wouldn't start reading it until I had a more significant portion. Like the 100 issues or so that I had just wasn't good enough. I said, I've got to have at least 250 issues, and I'm not even going to bother. So there's a lot of significant history in a lot of those issues that I didn't have. So I decided to make the switch to collected editions. Another advantage to collected editions over single issues, in addition to being able to get huge amounts of the series at reduced cost, is that there are no ads in trade paperbacks. As you flip through here, it's just story. From time to time, they will print a trade paperback that's true to the original material and leave the ads in, but it's really not common for that to be the case. Another advantage is in the back of many trade paperbacks, you have what I call back matter, where they will include variant covers for the issues contained in it, or interviews with creators, or forewords or afterwards from other creators or people who have something significant to say about that particular collected edition. They're also a little more presentable, in my opinion, to single issue comic books. I know I used to keep my couple thousand comics in a filing cabinet, and that was getting full, and I didn't want to have a stack of long boxes in my spare bedroom. So that was another thing that helped me make the switch over to collected editions. I knew that these would look fairly nice on a bookshelf, pretty much like a regular book. And the wife was in agreement with me that would be an adequate change. And it's questionably a trade paperback will take up less space than the issues that it contains. Now I want to talk a little bit about different kinds of collected editions and some terminology used to describe them. Most everyone is familiar with your standard trade paperback, also known as a trade or a TPB. I would say most people probably know this already. There are different sizes of trade paperback. You know, they get a little bit bigger, or thicker, I should say. Collected more issues, and this one, an Epic collection, is abbreviated as EC pretty commonly. And they get yet again bigger. This is a image compendium, collects 46 or 48 issues, I forget. But it's a lot. And then we've got a hardcover, or an HC. It's just a trade paperback, except it's got a hardcover. Then we have an oversized hardcover, or an OHC. Compared to a regular trade paperback, you'll see that it is printed on significantly larger paper. This allows for larger art and better enjoyment of the art therein. And we've got the Omnibus, which is the same size as an oversized hardcover as far as the paper that it's printed on, but generally collects much more material. Omnibus. The word omnibus actually implies that it's all inclusive, but that is not always the case. This is a volume 1 of 3. So this collects about 25 issues. But George Perez's run on Wonder Woman was much more than 25 issues. So omnibus is sort of a, not a great word for these, but that's what the format is called. And then that's also known as an Omni. And we've got a DC exclusive format, which is the Absolute. It is, again, larger than an oversized hardcover Omnibus. You can see it's about the same difference between it and a trade paperback. So they each get bigger as you go back. These typically collect about 20 issues or so, and all come in a slipcase, which are kind of nice. Some other terms that you may hear in the collected edition community would be OOP, which is out of print. This book is out of print. That does, whenever a book goes out of print, it becomes more desirable in the collected edition community. There's also HTF, which is hard to find. I don't think any of these books that I have down here are hard to find, but you know, those will oftentimes get a little more pricey if they're not so common, which brings me to my next term, which is a whale. A whale is a collected edition that sells for well over cover price, which is unusual for a collected edition to go for more than cover price. In fact, generally speaking, if you're buying them new, you should be able to find them for 30 to 45% off of cover price if you don't buy them at a local comic book store. Two more terms is MMW. That stands for Marvel Masterworks, which is a hardcover line that Marvel puts out. I'll do another video outlining all the different kinds of collected editions another time. And then there is Mango, which is just a term for manga. And that's all I've got for you tonight. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Thanks, guys.